Content warning. The following program contains smoking, potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and some other things that might make some people uncomfortable. Are we good? Well, we were until you asked if we were good. Just start it this time. All right, I'm getting to it. Hey everybody, what is going on? How you feeling? What's the word? How you doing out there? And all of that jazz. How you feeling out there, everybody? I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, and I'm coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And welcome. Oh, I forgot to do the thing. And welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk, I would say game theory, but the name of that is actually something about spies and psychology and how you can't trust people to be decent people and all that jazz. And that is not what we're on and what we are about and all that stuff. So with that being said, we talk about, well, what it's like to be a nerd and all of that stuff. So, thank you guys for showing up and all of that jazz. If you guys, want to get a hold of us, and all that jazz, well, it's really, really easy. All you got to do is open up your computer and type in back in the deck at gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also hit us up on those social medias, all those social medias. I'm doing my best, really doing my best to make sure that the social medias, like, there's so many out there, so many out there. So instead of picking one and getting good at it, I use all of them. So yeah. So there's that. Reach out to us. And of course, if you're on the Book of Face and all of that jazz, well, how can I put this? You guys can join Deckers on the Book. And, well, with Deckers on the Book, you can do a bunch of different stuff. And that's where I give away PDFs and all that jazz. So, thank you guys for being here. And, of course, I got to give a shout out to my patrons. All right? My patrons being like Laura Holton, Chaley Watson, Jennifer Kroll, like, seriously, guys, all of these things, all of these people, Noel Heiler, Glenn Couch, Christopher Chalmers, yeah, I really do appreciate all of the support that I get from you guys. So, if you guys are wondering if I seem a little bit distracted, I just got a text from the Bard in the deck. There we go. Boom. Just making sure he wants to make sure that his tickets to Decker Day, or the sponsored ticket to Decker Day, is paid for and all that stuff, because he is going to be leaving town. What, you ask? What is Decker Day? Well, Decker Day is our great big one-day expo that we are having in downtown Long Beach. So I was like pulling up the information for him and making sure that all that of his stuff could be paid for and all that stuff. So guys, we are 10 tickets away from being able to make sure that everything is paid for and all of that jazz. So let us do all of that stuff. All right, so let's head on over to boom. There we go, Decker Day. You guys can sign up for Decker Day It is $50 a ticket, and what we are going to be having is like the unlimited Italian buffet. We're talking parking validation, the paint and take, the terrain workshop, game demos all day, live recording of the dark side of the room. We got Nerd Soul and 133 Art and Marquita Lastar doing a panel. It is gonna be a day, guys. Seriously, 12 p.m. to 8, downtown Long Beach. The $50 includes food and parking validation. So, I don't even know how to make this more valuable to you guys. So, if you guys are looking to check out everything that's there, and of course, you know, check out everything that's there, or even sponsor somebody there, because, you know, how can I put this? A lot of people like want to help out the community and all that stuff, and I love that you guys want to do all that stuff. So how can you help? Well, you could sponsor a ticket for somebody that might want to go. I'm putting all of that stuff, hang on here, doop doop doo doo, backspace V, and I'm putting all that right there in the chat right there. So if you guys want to sponsor people, or you're in the Southern California and all that stuff, I just put the link right down there. Let's see if we can get these last 10 tickets sold today. All right, let's see what we can do on that. Okay, and this is like meet and greet. Honestly, if you guys were watching last night, I might be able to get the players from Warp Tumbler C24 to all show up at the event. It's a possibility, and I'm working on that, so you guys can meet with them and maybe take selfies and all that stuff, and talk with them, being like, what is up with this guy? Is he really like that? Oh yeah, no, this is, you know, he's not acting. This is really how he is. Like, this is him in the real world and all that jazz. So we talked about that. We talked about Decker Day. Of course, y'all know how to get t-shirts and all that jazz. So now that we got that stuff going, like I said, 6 tickets, all right? Or not 6, sorry, 10 tickets. That's all we got to do. We just got to sell 10 more tickets, so I can make sure that all the food is paid for and people get their value out of that, all right? So now that we got that stuff going, again, this is like really big, and a lot of you guys have been super supportive of the stuff that we're doing. If you guys are wondering, I'm still suffering from massive amounts of sleep deprivation from having to work a 20-hour shift a couple of days ago. So I'm doing all that stuff. But let's get to the show. All right? Let's get to the show. So what do we got going? All right, what do we got going? Well, today I told you guys I wanted to talk about one-note players. All right, one-note players. And if you guys don't know what that is, a one-note player, in a nutshell, quiet you. Or maybe not quiet you. No, yeah, quiet you. A one-note player is a player that tends to play the same... Oh, there we go. Okay. A one-note player is really a player that tends to play the same iteration of a character, sometimes even down to the same name. They play clones in every single game, okay? And I'm not talking archetypes, all right? Because some people like playing the wizard, some people like playing the fighter, some people like playing DPS, some people like playing healers. That's not what I'm talking about. Let's open up with a story. Now, my old gaming group and I used to play so many different games. We played World of Darkness, Fading Suns, 2nd edition D&D, 3rd edition D&D, 4th edition? No, we didn't play 4th edition. But yeah, we did a lot of different games. And there were some people in our gaming group. I'm going to talk about one in particular because I'm probably not going to see him again for a long time. And this guy, played the not wizard, okay? I don't care what game we were playing. If we were playing World of Darkness, He had a character called the Soap Maker. All right. Now, if you guys have watched Fight Club or know a lot about chemistry, and this guy is a budding chemist, making soap is kind of a messed up process. Like, there's an old saying. That you don't, like, in politics, you don't want to see the sausage get made. That goes doubly for soap. All right. Soap, it's funny because when you look at it being made or find out how to make it, it's kind of disgusting and kind of dangerous, but you put all those cool things together and you get soap. You can get clean and kill bacteria and all that stuff, and it's great. It's just great all the way across the board. All right. So this isn't about the character that plays the same character class. All right. So this guy made the Soap Maker, the not wizard. He played the wizard that didn't believe in magic, called it science, and fashioned himself clever by doing all the same magic stuff that a wizard would do, but it's not magic because there's no such thing as the supernatural. If it happens in the world, then it is part of the natural world, and supernatural becomes not supernatural the moment that it actually happens. And I'm like, shut up, I don't want to debate philosophy and semantics with you. Okay. But that was his character when we played White Wolf, be it Mage the Ascension, Vampire the Masquerade. When we played D&D, he had a character named the Soap Maker that had a high intelligence score, that did a lot of magical effects by putting chemicals together. Are you getting what I mean? And when we played Shadowrun, the Soap Maker. When we played the Dresden Files, the Soap Maker. When we played Anomaly, the Soap Maker. I had a friend a long time ago that always played the anti-power character, i.e., I'm the human who knows everything and I don't need superpowers to beat you all, named Ronald. And this was a different guy. So, yeah. And I want to bring out this idea, okay? Because a lot of us, one of the things I always want to make clear is that there is a difference between a one-note player and an archetypical player. Okay, there's a difference between the two. I was talking to a friend of mine a little earlier today while writing the episode, just to get a different take, because most of the time I teach new players. I'm that guy that opens the door to new folks, and a lot of new players do tend to play the same character, but they do it for different reasons. It's, I hit stuff really hard and I don't contribute to the party's ideals, or anything. I'm just here to beat stuff up. All right. And it's like, do you do that because that's the kind of character you want to play, or because you don't know the rules to the game yet? And most of the time the answer is the latter. So they go across that. Okay. But there's a difference between playing a character and an archetype. Even the chat is lighting up like, yeah, Zan, okay, he's going to be a fighter. But is he going to be Grognar the fighter? Are we talking the barbarian, the fighter, the same type of fighter with the same background and the same weapons and the same name and the same backstory? Or is it the peaceful fighter this time? Yeah, everybody wanting to be Batman was a thing for a little while, and for a lot of people it still is. But a lot of people want to be a lot of different things. Okay, I'm just glad that new players don't want to be Satima, and yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, the wide variety of human fighters, because there's so many different ways to play a fighter. So when you're thinking that you might be feeling a staleness, but you don't want to leave your comfort zone, i.e., I'm tired of playing the same fighter, but I don't want to play a magic user, I don't want to play a cleric. What are some of the things that you can do to give variety to the different types of player characters that you make? However, And how can you kind of avoid falling into these? But more to the point, and this is for us intermediate to graybeard players. How can we help people give variance to the archetypes? Now, I'm a graybeard player, all right? And what's the difference between graybeard and Grocknar? Graybeards have been, it's the difference between your cool grandpa and the one that you dread coming to Thanksgiving. Okay? Cool grandpa is the one that's just as old, just been playing, has been doing the thing for a long time, and knows that things are different for your generation, but knows that it's neither better or worse, it's just different. Where the Grocknar is like, kids today, why can't they be perfect like we were? They ain't got no respect. They don't know what a hard day's work is. Versus the, that's what I mean. Yeah, attitude. Now, when I joke about, well, back in my day, that's me kind of trying to be the cool grandpa, in opposed to, kill me, Billy, kill me, And over the years, and I mean this, the years that I have been playing all of these games, all right, I've seen so many iterations of archetypes and things like that. And also, and this is a really big one, guys, really, really big one. It's really easy to fall into the same stuff when you get comfortable, but your skill set does not determine your character, all right? That's like saying every accountant is exactly the same. There was a writer, Joe Casey. He wrote Superman throughout the early 2000s. And he made it clear to, who was it? It was either Jimmy Olsen or someone else, that Superman is a great big fan of Metallica. Where Batman thinks that rock and roll is primal and the work of the beast. Yeah, Batman hates rock, loves opera. Superman loves Metallica, which is kind of scary because of the two, I would rather Batman be in a mosh pit. But when you look at Human Fighter, okay, I don't care what game you're playing. A name has a lot of power. Are you playing, what's his name? Gendry the Fighter? Are you playing John the Fighter? Are you playing Allison the Fighter? What kind of attitudes do they have? What are their backstories? Every character in a role-playing game takes about, well, for advanced players, about 10 minutes. And for beginning players, oh, stop. That was a Batman metal joke. Boo! Every role-playing game you got takes hours and hours because you have to put layers on the character. What are their backgrounds? What are their family? Where do they come from, and what is that culture? Okay? So one of my favorite examples of this was in the movie Gamer's Heart of Darkness. Okay? The new player read all the books and created her character, and she created a fighter, a dex-based fighter with a spear, and not a strength-based fighter with a warhammer or a sword. And with the dex-based stuff that she did, she got improved critical as a feat, and the abilities to, when she kills something on a critical hit, she can make another free attack, and that chains endlessly. And so she used mechanics to make a different flavor of fighter, all right? However, the way she played her character was curious and introspective and willing to talk to people, and that's the thing, Batman has been Yeah, exactly. She crits on like a 13, right? So one of the things that I've seen, and one of the examples I want to bring up, is if you were to put stats to Batman, shout out Gorlock the Librarian, and then put stats on Nightwing, okay? The stats and skill sets that they have are pretty much exactly the same. Batman might have like 1 or 2 more points in something else because he'd been doing it 10 years longer than Nightwing, all right? However, they both have fighter, they both have acrobatics, they have a lot of different stuff. But the characters, what's going on, Con? Yeah, so Batman and Nightwing on paper look almost identical if you're only thinking about stats, okay? And when it comes to that, this is the doorway that players become one note. They only think about what the characters can do. Excuse me, how can they fight? What spells do they have? What bonuses do they get? But they don't think of why, all right? Make no mistake, I'm a big fan of Batman. I do. I like Batman. I like Batman a whole lot. But I like Nightwing better. And the reason is because if I were to meet the two, Nightwing would be the one that I wouldn't mind spending time with. You know, it's kind of the same thing of, you know, Batman is a good man. Nightwing is a good man, but Nightwing is relatable. He likes having friends. He likes going to movies and stuff like that. Where Batman just watches the same movie over and over again while eating lobster thermidor alone in his home theater, you know? I can see... I can see Dick Grayson sitting down to a game of say, Monopoly, with Dick Grayson, you know, with Tim Drake, you know, all of the Bat family has their things, but Batman is like the most insular and all that stuff. So, yeah. But the point that I'm making is that on paper they can easily be the same character. Okay, they can easily be the same character. The edgelord. Look at me, brooding. Darkness. No parents. You know? And one-note players tend to be the ones who play that same character, regardless of the gaming system, the setting, the character class, or the skill set. Or they end up creating the same character as close as they can, regardless to the game system, the setting, the mechanics, that kind of thing. Now, it ain't so bad. I was talking to a friend of mine up in Canada who plays the person with the assault rifle. And he said to me, quote, snipers and mages need patience and I ain't got none of that. And I'm like, okay. And this is the thing that brought up the whole archetype for me. Because again, there's a difference between archetype and identical character. All right. I'll tell you guys, quite honestly, if I sit down at a D&D table, I'm probably going to play a wizard or a bard. Okay? One of the two. You know, I'm probably going to play that. However, is this wizard cranky? Is he like, fool of a toque, throw yourself in next time and save us from your own stupidity? What do you mean? I was just in the outhouse. Exactly. Throw yourself in next time. Or are they going to be a lot closer to Cedric from The Last Unicorn? Or are they going to be a John Constantine type? You know? Who knows? Who knows? It all depends on what I feel like that character should be like. Okay? Now, I literally just named 3 different wizards from mass media. Okay. There are so many different kinds of fighters. Like, one of my favorite juxtapositions outside of Batman and Nightwing are Batman and Green Arrow. You know, they're pretty much the same guy with the same skill set, and they're both billionaires. Except the Green Arrow is a leftist that believes in social justice. He goes to protests. He does his best to like fund charities. He has his own charities that he's actually an active part in. And he's the guy that'll get into the face of superpowered gods and tell them, you're not thinking of the little guy, to the point where Batman calls him to do it so that Batman can get back to Gotham. You know, again, they're both Ranger, Fighter, Bard multi-classes if we're talking D&D. But we're also, they're both bards from 2nd edition. If you know, you know. But they're completely different characters, all right? There's nothing wrong with playing the dude with a warhammer. You say that he doesn't have a deep space satellite, though. We don't really know that much about Oliver Queen because I can't find more than 2 people that have read more than 5 Green Arrow comics. So, but the point stands, all right? The point stands. And I can even throw in Ted Kord the Blue Beetle in all that. You know, all these guys are fighters that have gadgets and all of that stuff. But they're all different personalities, okay? So when I sit down with players and I see that they might be getting bored or stale with all that stuff, I start asking the background questions. I start asking, all right, well, does this character have siblings? You know, what were their relationships like with their older brother or their older sister? Did they have pets? Are the pets still alive? Do they think that, you know, they overfed Mr. Fishy? You know, what are their thoughts on the way women are treated? What are their thoughts on children? You know, so I can throw stuff into the game that flushes out their character. Because most of the time, the one-note player is, I guess you can say, half guilty. Half of it is because they don't really think about their character outside of a singular aspect of whatever game they're playing. And when you sit down to something like Dungeons and Dragons or Shadowrun or Cyberpunk, it is, what's my character like in a fight? Okay? And it's very rare that it's like, what are they like at the dinner table? You know, unless the dinner table is the fight. You know what I mean? So these are things to really think about, and they're not bad things. Okay, nothing I'm talking about here is bad. Nothing I'm talking about here is if players do this, they're bad players and they don't deserve to be at our table. That's gatekeeping. All right. And yeah, I did the point. Matter of fact, it's the Harrison Ford point. You know, passive aggressive berserker. That is a great character. That really is a great character. The dude that actually rages out when people don't get the hints, you know? And it's a real matter of fact, I'm thinking about that now, and that's freaking amazing. I told someone at a party about the Barbarian, who is the barbarian that is just convinced that he's the bard because his mother said you tell stories too much when she was saying that he was lying. And so he convinced himself that his stories, or that his lies were stories, and that he is a bard and a storyteller. And when somebody says you're not a bard, you don't have magic, then he berserks out at them. You know, because he's a bard, you know. And it essentially makes people go, okay, fine, yeah, dude, you're a bard, yay, oh, good song. Like, now I'll take the rocks and I'll beat them together to make primal beat of my people, you know. And that's just one piece of flavor, okay. But when it comes to the one note thing, the way to avoid becoming a one note player or helping players go beyond the singular note that they know is to show them that their skill set is not 100% linked to their personalities. Okay? that's a lot of things. Like, I know we live in the United States, and that has a lot to do with the way that we perceive things. All right. I'm checking the chat right now to see if any of my watchers from overseas are watching. Because here in America, one of the very first questions that we ask people is what they do for a living. Okay, that does something to your brain. All right, we tend to go, this person is this, based on what they do for money. All right. And what does that mean? That means it equates who people are to their job. Like, oh, you're a chemist, and that is what you will be. Oh, you're a musician, so you must be flaky and do a lot of drugs. You're a computer programmer. Okay, so you're probably socially awkward. Oh, you're in counterintelligence. I bet you know what your shoes look like. I mean, it really is a thing we do here in the United States, where in Europe, when people meet someone new, they ask them what they think about movies, what kind of art do they like. They ask more about their opinions on things and their passions than they do about their profession. And the way that this manifests at the game table and causes one-note players is that it's very easy to singularly categorize an archetype as an entire personality. Okay? Wizards, they're dorks. They spend all their time reading. Hang on. Elves are snobby racial stereotypes. Dwarves are loud and they fight and they tend to speak with a Scottish accent. However, I was thinking about the old Game of Thrones show, because the new show just came out. And Peter Dinklage was a dwarf because he was a little person, right? But I like the idea of a dwarf being a dwarf just because they're a bit smaller than regular people. Yeah, they have physical traits, but Tyrion the dwarf was a political genius for a whole 4 seasons. If you know, you know. And he sucked at violence. He really sucked at it. He wasn't that strong. He wasn't tall. He wasn't fast. But the mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone. So he spent his time being very savvy. Where you got Sam Tarly, the reluctant wizard. You got Cedric from The Last Unicorn versus Gandalf, And I really like those ideas, I started thinking about this years ago when I looked at attributes on character sheets, The biggest thing, and I told this to my kid, people tend to one-note simple ideas like charisma and likability. They are not the same thing. That is really a rectangle square situation, all right? Every politician and good teacher has a high charisma stat. And when I say those things, I mean charisma equals plausibility, not likability. All right? People with high charisma are believed. Now, sometimes that belief is based on the fact that people like them. And this is what I mean, that square rectangle thing. But you can hate someone and still believe them. I believe the Falcon and Winter Soldier said it best. Well, he's out of line, but he's right. You know what I mean? And that is a really, really big thing. Like, I love the Baron Zemo character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe because you want to punch him in the face, but when he talks, he makes a lot of good points that are hard to argue with. That is charisma. All right, that is high charisma. Just because a person has an 18 charisma score doesn't mean they have to be walking around like this all the time and using words like cadre. Yes, we are such a cadre of adventurers, blah, 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 They don't have to do that, although they can, you know. But sometimes, like, one of the reasons that that paladins have such high charisma is because they believe things so hard that they convince other people to believe it too. You know, because with a paladin, there ain't no question. It's like, oh, yeah, you're an atheist. That's interesting. What do you mean? Well, you're incorrect because the gods walk around whether or not you believe in them. You can say that you don't know whether or not they're gods, but that doesn't change what they are. Anyway, would you like another bowl of soup? Done. You know? And that's a really, really, really big thing. So there are so many different ways to play character classes and different characters that a player doesn't have to get stale. And again, I'm talking the difference between archetype and one note, okay? It's easy to play the same character class over and over and over again, especially in games like D&D, all right? Example, I love wizards, but there's the wizard schools to think about. What spells am I getting? What cantrips am I getting? What skills do I want to put into this one? Okay, I only have a small list of skills, so my wizard characters will probably fall into like 3 to 5 categories. So it's really easy to run out of options really quick on the surface. There's a big thing right now in a lot of circles of creating characters that don't have tragic backstories. And I love that. I love it to death. You know, one of my favorite things to do with creating character classes that aren't one notes, and I'll get to that second part in a minute, okay, is you know what? I don't want to make a tragic backstory. I want to make a character with a long tradition of, like, their family has a long tradition of being this character class, and they're supportive and they're cool, and this guy is as close to normal as I can imagine a normal person being. That's what I'd like to play. Back in my days of White Wolf, I created a Malkavian whose madness was complete denial. You know, he didn't believe that he was a vampire. He didn't believe in the stuff that the other vampires did, and he was very much against killing people. And he spent most of his time reading the newspaper. He just thought he had a malignant skin condition, so he stayed out of the sun. And but that opens the door to breaking these types and trying to keep your character playable. All right, you other graybeards out there, and I'm calling one out by name. Help me out, Xanth and Khan. All right, help me out, both of you guys. We've all been in the gaming campaign where the thief was not that kind of thief, you know, where the rogue was not that kind of rogue. Like, hey, we need somebody to pickpocket that guy or open a trap. Can you? Nope, not that kind of thief. And what they made was a thief that was a fighter but kept it secret. You know, they used all their thief skills for backstabbing and all their points for doing major stuff in combat, and they maxed out their combat skills but minimized everything else that made them a good thief. So honestly, the ranger had a better chance of picking the lock or looking for traps or doing stuff like that. Oh man, I froze. All right. I should be back. I'm looking at my thing. So, but yeah. So, you know, it's, so what is this? And this is that other side that I was talking about right there. The other side to this particular thing is going so far out of the one note mode that your character does not end up being playable with anyone. All right. Yeah, I'm not that kind of cleric. Yeah, quick cleric, heal me. I ain't that kind of cleric. I worship the god that says whatever happens is supposed to happen. So if you die, you die. You know, it's one of those things. And that's the thing. It's people trying to get away from archetypes of that, but it's a matter of straying too far out. I say often that there's no correction like an overcorrection. All right. Oh my God, entire generation of kids were physically abused by their parents, so don't hit your children at all. Matter of fact, don't hit your children, don't yell at them, don't put them on timeout, and tell them that everything they do is good. Matter of fact, don't even tell them no, just tell them yes later. I lost my mind. I'm like, okay, well, guess somebody's calling CPS on me because my kid's getting a timeout and I ain't saying yes to everything. So yeah, there's no reason to overcorrect, all right? But if we slow down and we think a lot of things through, how are my characters getting stale? Well, I play the same characters all the time and all I am is good in combat. Well, let's take a look at your character sheet. Do you know calligraphy? Do you have skills that aren't combat oriented? This was made really easy in 5th edition because they reduced the amount of skills and made the skills that were there encompass a much larger scope. Okay, so it wasn't just running or swimming or use rope. It was athletics. So if there's a fighter, look at me, I'm a fighter, and there's no fights to be had, I don't know. Maybe they go to a bar and challenge people to a push-up contest. You know, last night during the game of Warp Tumbler C24, when they got to the bar, yeah, there was a contest going on who could eat the most pieces of cheese, you know, and I don't know if I don't know if you guys out there are tough, but or are familiar with this, but it's really hard to just eat a bunch of pieces of cheese. Like sit down at a crudité thing and just be like, and again, no drinking. So you're just eating cheese, letting it coat the inside of your mouth. And just to add a little entertainment to everything else, both combatants were lactose intolerant because it's a bar game. That's what they do, right? That's really a major thing. So, you know, and there's not a whole lot about these characters. If you want to know more about them, then you'll have to tune in to Warp Tumbler C24 in 13 days. That's Monday after the upcoming one. But at the end of the day, I put them into a bar, but I didn't want to make it a one-note bar. I didn't want to make the bard be the one singing and entertaining the bar. I didn't want to pull out a bar fight or anything like that. I didn't want the Mos Eisley moment of, my friend doesn't like you, I don't like you either, you know? Ooh, we got a really big comment here coming in from Zenithades. Had a character who was an orc warlord and another player in the group that had a half-orc barbarian, although they were in different parties with the same campaign world. We decided that my character was his character's father, and as a marauding orc, it was extremely distressing that his own flesh and blood would go off and become an adventurers when orcs had suffered so much at their hands. That is great. That is really great. Yeah, that is really, really great. I like that idea. I really like that idea. It's very reminiscent of King Shark from the Harley Quinn show. You know, oh, you're a conqueror, but I want to dance and I want to use the bathroom. You know, I really do like that, you know? And so these are really easy ways to make players see that they don't have to be one note, that the one character that they know or like to play may have many more aspects to them than they think. Okay? When people play Batman, they stick with the brooding edgelord. But you know, Batman has a major love of kids. You know, I think it was Justice League Unlimited or Batman Beyond. I think it was Batman Beyond, where they called Batman in to stop a child who had reality-altering superpowers, and Batman hey man, I'm glad you stopped in too, man. Thank you so much. I'll be reaching out a little bit, probably later on today. Yeah, you know, they brought in Batman to make evil stop being evil with gadgets and fists, and Batman just sat down with the girl whose powers were going weird because she was dying, and he sat down with her and was kind, you know. And this goes on the opposite end. How many of us who were there in second edition are used to lawful stupid with the paladins? No, we can't do this. It's not lawful, nor is it good. No, you can't play your game because I say no, and then the game becomes something else, which can be fun, but simultaneously, I know quite a few lawful good people. I know quite a few lawful good Christians who don't lie, who don't cheat, who don't steal. I have some great neighbors who are very, very Christian, and they've never tried to convert me. They're like, you work with kids, you do good stuff, you try and make life better for everyone around you. As far as I'm concerned, you're doing God's work. You keep that up. And I'm like, well, you say God's work, I say trying to make life a little easier for the people that are younger than me, or trying to help people not go through the same difficulties that I went through. Potato, potato. Now, if I ever go on a bank heist, am I calling them? No. No, I'm not. But if demons pop up and I have to, fight monsters, yeah, I might end up calling them. I don't know if they're fighters or not. But again, you can get rid of the one note thing through good faith, character interaction, and good thought about what is the character other than the thing that everyone knows about them. Okay. Let's take the soap maker, for example. That player just wanted to debate philosophy in the form of role-playing. Okay. When I interacted with this player, my characters just weren't with that. I really didn't interact with that. So when they brought up magic or tried to start that kind of debate, I would ask them what pie recipes they liked. Or, oh, you're a soap maker. Well, I was actually looking to make this kind of potion. Could you help me out with that? And it forced him to be something other than a blowhard. Michael Carpenter. Oh, bruh. Yeah, thank you. Dresden Files reference. Dude, yes. All right. Yeah, exactly. Brought up the Dresden Files. Michael Carpenter, my favorite paladin in all of fiction. And he's a fleshed out character who's far beyond one note, and again, lawful good, but not lawful stupid. Not lawful stupid at all. Won't stop the party from doing the terrible thing that they may have to do in order to move forward. It's a well thought out, and it goes from stereotype to archetype to character. And the too long don't read is when your players end up being one note, it's probably because they're stuck in a mindset of stereotype. Now, as a GM, when I see that I have a player like that, I make clones of their characters and work it the other way. Okay, I work it the other way. If someone is just stuck playing the angry wizard, look, it's one ball, now it's two balls, now it's one ball again, okay, fine. Then I'll introduce a nice wizard. And if they end up playing the super lawful good paladin and all that stuff, I'll create a lawful good paladin and I will make them a total jerk, because lawful good don't mean lawful nice. And it's like, a lot of those different things. One of the things that got on my nerves a long time ago was the way that every gamer that I came about played neutral the same way, which is they didn't play the game. Okay? They didn't play the game. When they played neutral, that means everything is as it should be and it's not my place to interfere. And I'm like, so why are you playing this game? Like, what does your character do? You know, all right, they're a true neutral fighter. So what do they fight for? You know, because, you know, oh, someone's getting robbed on the street. Well, there's probably a reason for that. A giant monster is coming and destroying a town. That is the nature of things when you look at things from a larger historical perspective. And I'm like, okay, are you just here to tell us what not to do? You know, and as a player, I believe my bard at that time challenged that player to define balance, you know, and that player couldn't, you know. And then we had a cup of coffee, we had a talk, and that player essentially created that character as a troll, to show how stupid neutral was, or true neutral was. And I created a true neutral fighter after that, where just to maintain balance, I kind of based him on Mr. Terrific, from the DC universe, whose major thing is fair play. So sometimes he would fight, sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he'd start the fight, sometimes he'd finish it. Sometimes he would rob someone and then he would use that money to feed a bunch of people who couldn't feed himself. He was all about balance, you know, just to show that there was a different way to play neutral. All right. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. All right. There's a difference between player preference and stereotyping. So if you find that your players or yourself are getting stale because you think you're doing stuff one note, think a little deeper. Okay, think a little deeper about all of the questions that you would be asked in creative writing. Why does the character do what it does? Why do they believe what they believe? How does this manifest in the regular world? I love that D&D went a lot closer to the fate system, with the whole background thing of what did you do before you decided to quit your job and become an adventurer? What was your job? You know, and with that job, what skills did you pick up? What people did you meet? You know, that kind of thing. Because every single person is a character in multiple stories, not just their own. You, my friend, whoever is watching me right now, is a character in the story of every single person that you know. Every single one. Okay, sometimes you're a cameo character, sometimes you're a co-star, sometimes you're a guest star. However, you are more than what your friends or your family members see you as. Your characters are the same. Your characters are more than what you see them as on the surface. And the best part about all this is you get to decide what they're like on all those other levels. All right. So given that fact, there's a lot of different things that you can discover, and that's all up to you guys. But talk to me in the comments, talk to me on the Discord and all that stuff, because we are out of time for this week and I have a lot of work that I have to do. So, I beat the music. So I want to thank you guys for showing up here today. Let's see. Major shout outs to Clever Little Vixen holding it down like gravity, Zero, Supa, Alien Conglomeration, Anna Banana 10, Attila Khan, Odyssia, Black and White Now in Color, Commander Root, Glenn Couch, Elizabeth is Nickable, Samarillion. I love that name. Oh my God. That is very cool. That is very cool. Sega Dreams and Xanafe. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna read that last comment. Okay, there we go. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe here. We're doing a whole lot that we can do to make sure that we make enough money to keep the channel going, to keep our community outreach going, especially since summer is coming to an end and after school programs are starting up, because school is starting up again. And it's a little weird because we're post major COVID stuff, but there's a lot of stuff shutting down that people don't have access to, and I want to keep that. I want to keep something going, something open. All right, guys? So with that, I gotta say thank you for showing up, and if anybody tells you that you guys can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, race, religion, creed, all that stuff, you can tell them to take any of those cards and put them back in the deck. All right? Let's see. I wish my collection hadn't been so crummy due to the last half of the show. Well, thank you, guys. Well, you know what? Maybe next time. All right? But with that, I gotta say thank you, guys, and we will see you next time on the Dark Side of the Ring.